Welcome back to Proper Point of View Podcast. I'm your host, Christopher Cernahouse, and today is another episode of Dream Interpretation. These are going to be one of my favorite episodes to do. Today we've got a crazy one. It kind of jumps around. So, like before, I'm just going to run through the dream and explain it to you, how it went on. I have this old friend. She is a girl, but we were just purely friends, and I knew her when I was a very young kid, like 4 years old, all the way through high school, all the way through high school, and then after high school, we kind of went our separate ways, and we were just good friends. We were neighbors. We're very close to each other. We rode the bus together every day. We talked about lots of crazy things. And during high school, we definitely like split apart. But when we saw each other, it wasn't like anything weird. We were just good friends, and like nothing had changed. It wasn't like a secret that we were, like a little bit. Like it was like when we were in school together, we didn't like talk a lot. But outside of school, we did talk a lot, and it wasn't like we were hiding anything or like because we just had different friend circles. It was just like that's when we crossed paths. So it was like that. But in my head, she was a very, very good friend. And it's funny. So the reason that's relevant is because I dreamt about her. So the dream kind of revolves around her. And so it's her and I in a bus together. We rode the bus together many times, but that might have a deeper meaning, and we'll get into that. So, so we're in a bus together. We have a bus driver, and is actually one of the bus drivers that I had as a kid, which is funny that my brain, actually puts the face in to the dream, which is pretty crazy. I know that's actually pretty rare for that to happen, I feel like, or at least it doesn't happen to me super often, but it has been a lot lately. So it's just me and her on the bus, and then this bus driver that I know. And he's driving super fast and then driving over a frozen lake and then spinning us out. And we're just spinning in circles around this frozen lake and then slowing down when we get to the other side. Then he's getting it sped up again and doing it on the way back. And he's just doing it back and forth. And it's supposed to be like a fun thing, but we're freaking out, like kind of like roller coaster, we're scared, whatever. And I just remember on the way back, we almost hit this car. We're like so close to it. It's like, dream version gives me like a little slow-mo close up of that. And then let's see. Then after that, it just it just cuts, I believe. Yeah, it just cut to me and her being in a pet store. It was a purely a fish store. My mom, and I are in there, and we're all and I like I own the fish store with them, or I believe that Abby um might have been a employee, and then my mom was there, and for sure my mom and I owned the store, but they didn't know really what was going on or how it worked, and so I was explaining to them just the different needs of all the fish and everything like that. Cuts again, and I am flying over a city, and I'm a superhero. I have one wing, but I can still fly just fine. And then Abby's also there again. So this is that the girl I was telling you about, and she has like cat superpower. So like anything a cat can do, she can do. And she's just running over the buildings and jumping from building to building, and I'm flying, and we're just fighting each other for fun. So I'm like swooping in and trying to like knock her off balance, whatever. But I also have the ability to like shoot feathers out of my wing and continue to fly, but they can like I have like free reign over what they do. So that's the dream that I had, and it's kind of like three dreams split, and it sounds like not a lot happened, but there's a lot going on there. So let's get into it. Starting from the beginning. So the fact that it is me and this girl Abby on the bus together is a huge telling thing. This is like a big thing in dream interpretation is that when you have someone that you used to be close to but you aren't anymore, it doesn't mean that you're actually supposed to like. That's what's funny is like a lot of the stuff isn't like direct. Um, it's not so direct, and you think it is like, oh, I should reach out to her, like, oh, maybe I miss her, maybe that's what's going on. And it's not that. I mean, maybe it is, but it's also not, because the deeper meaning to that is really that you long for a deep connection. So I remember that I was close to her and that we had deep talks and just I felt like I could confide in her and she could confide in me, and it was just nice to have someone like that. And then yeah, it was just like a good friend. And now I have recently moved. It's been hard to have a good friend, and I moved with good friends. It's just like things are just wishy-washy and not as solid. It's like it's almost like a routine. Like it was a routine to see her every day because we rode the same bus. So yeah, it was like just missing that routine aspect to a friendship. A lot of the friendships that I have nowadays, you have to reach out and you have to make plans, and it's like a lot different than it was before. So I think it was just a longing in that sense. That's what matched up with all the dream interpretation things. And then the fact that it was on a bus is actually really important too. So they were talking about different transportation that could have been being taken in the dream. So I could have been on an airplane, I could have been in a car, but I was on a bus. I could have been on a train, but no, it's a bus. And so what's funny about a bus is that a bus follows a specific route. And that goes back to the routine that I was talking about. So the potential for, it follows the route, it tells you where you're going, and it does what it does, and you're on the bus being taken to the spot. You're not driving. Also, it's a grounded experience. So you're grounded, and you're using your, what they say was you're using your, I believe that's this one. Um, yeah, I mean, just a down to earth journey in comparison to something like an airplane where you could be like out there journey. So I am on a journey, but it is very a logical journey. It is very much a problem solving step by step journey, and that is starting new businesses, that starting a new job and like a separate job, and then I'm doing all these new things like starting to tattoo. I've gotten made a lot of progress on that, but also just making all these friendships and just getting moved in and making seeing what I need, and just like all these different projects that are going on. But they're all problem solving, down to earth problems. So I think that's where that comes from. Driving over a frozen lake on purpose. So this is like a really important one. I didn't think it was that relevant because I'm from Wisconsin. So I was like, oh, snow, whatever. I didn't think twice about it. And something that we actually used to do is we actually used to take cars on the frozen lake and do this and just drive out and just do donuts and spin out on purpose. So that is something that we used to do. So it's funny that came up in my dream because I hadn't thought about it in forever. But the relevance of that is anxiety, which makes sense. With all these things going on, there's a lot swimming around in my head, and a lot of the way I am is like, if I can solve the problem, I will solve the problem. But the problem is a lot of these problems, you have to wait for the solution. So I get all my stuff done, and then I submit it or whatever, and I'm waiting to hear back, or I'm like, for example, I'm working on this fish tank, and there's this problem. I really like the fish can see each other and they don't like each other, and so they get upset and they like flare at each other and they get angry and they swim around and put on a show for each other, but it stresses them out. Well, so I built these dividers, and we've got moss growing out of the dividers. Well, that should help out, and then it should also help filter the tank. Well, I can't fix that problem. I did as much as I could do. Now I just have to wait. So it's like a lot of these problems are like a waiting game. Like I want to get really good at tattooing. It's just going to take practice and repetition. So like all these things that problems are going up. So it's making me anxious. Like I want to see results. I want to see results now. But it's not like that. So that is the relevance of that. But also something else that is relevant to things being frozen and in the cold is actually not letting out your emotions, which actually goes back to the relevance of Abby and who she is to me. So who she was someone that I could confide in and share my emotions. She could share her emotions, and it was like because we were just basically each other's like growing up partners. Like it was like we were just friends, and we just grew like from such a young age. We were just learning things together as kids do, and like, oh, what is this? This is new. Oh, what do you think about this? Like just sharing opinions. Like I don't know what to think about that, or like that's something new, or like so and so said this. Just like almost like almost like a debate class with each other, but like a very friendly environment. It was really cool. So yeah, I mean that's kind of cool that it was her because being in that frozen environment in the dream could mean that I'm not sharing my emotions, or I don't have someone to share my emotions with, and I don't feel comfortable sharing. all the anxiety that I am going through. So that is, it's funny how it all lines up. It's funny. If I don't know, I'm gonna keep doing this, and I'm curious to see if it all lines up as well as it, because the things that I'm searching for, they're not like so broad that you can be like, oh yeah, that's my life because it matches one of eight of these things. It's like this is what it means, and I'm like, oh wow, that matches my life. Like it's one thing. So it's pretty crazy how well this matches up. It almost feels like I'm making it match up, but it really makes sense to me, especially because I'm in the dream and I know what I'm feeling in the dream, and then I come out of the dream and then I look up the relevance and then I'm like, oh wow, that's what I felt too. Like not only does it mean that, and I'm like not putting a feeling to it now, like I know what I felt like and it matches up, which is crazy. Okay, I'm sorry for that little rant. So now moving on to the next part is, so I just flashed, just like a next scene. We owned a fish store and we're in this fish store. So fish actually represent personal growth, which I've been on um, this huge personal growth upswing since, I mean, I decided to move. So since I decided to move to Colorado, that was me making that choice for myself, and then I just kept accelerating from there, and I've been on a huge personal growth journey. But it's funny because I also have fish, so this is one where I'm like, okay, I don't know if this is relevant at all. But it is funny how that also lines up because it didn't have any other meanings. So it's like, okay, I own fish, so maybe it's just like that. You want to like write it off, but at the same time, it has something that actually does apply very strongly to myself. And then just pets in general, that actually means longing for freedom, which to me does also match up with the personal growth thing. I think it's like similar, or like at least my reason behind personal growth is the freedom. And freedom to me would be like just the freedom of like free myself from ignorance in the areas that I want to be. So that's really what that is for me. And then, I mean, that's what it's just so crazy about this dream is there's not really any talking at all. It's just like scenes. So cut and next scene. Now we're superheroes and she's jumping over buildings and I'm flying next to her. The relevance of being a superhero is, again, freedom and having courage to take upon the tasks that you're working on, like take it on and actually like execute on the tasks. And then something else is actually using your skills. So everyone has like a special skill, a special skill set. As they grow up, they develop stronger in some areas and weaker in other areas. And so being a superhero represents capitalizing on the areas that you're strong, which is really funny because so I'm just starting. This was like before I had decided to start the coaching business, which is funny. So I'm like, I need to capitalize on my strengths, and so I started tattooing and I started the coaching business, and just like it's funny that I did that, and I don't know if that was telling me to do that, and then I like picked it up and started, or if it's completely unrelated, or maybe I don't really know the timeline either. So yeah, but it's just really funny how this is all matching up. It's crazy. Um, yeah, and then we fought each other for fun. What? So that I don't know if that is relevant at all, but my interpretation of that would be like it was hard to find any answer of that. But yeah, I mean that to me would be kind of the like debate style talking that we did. It is like no emotions were ever hurt. It was just a debate style talk and like a learning environment, and which was really great. And it helped us grow up. And yeah, so I mean that's what that means. I mean I'm getting really deep with you guys, and I'm sharing like a lot of myself. So I think that makes this a really good episode, and I hope it's not. Like I hope it all makes sense to you because it makes sense to me because I am myself. But hopefully I'm sharing enough information that it is coming across to you guys. But yeah, I really like these. I can't wait for the next one. The next one, I mean, they're only going to be all crazy. My dreams are just odd. So, so I wish I could do like a little like a cartoon or something for you guys because I know exactly what it looks like in my head. But yeah, if you guys need like deeper explanations of what's going on in the dreams to maybe get an idea so you can follow along better or whatever it is, let me know. But yeah, that's this one, and see you guys next time.